Okay, so you have started the recording, right? Yeah, I can see the sign here. Okay, so welcome everyone to the Internet Society Board of Trustees meeting number 136. Just a reminder that the whole board meeting is going to be recorded per our video recording policy, which, by the way, we will approve it later today. But just for everyone's basically, when you are making a statement, if this is something confidential, just please wait until the executive session that we will have later today. Because otherwise it's not only being basically broadcasted now, it's also being recorded and it will be made publicly available on the agenda page. So having said that, I call this meeting to order. We received regrets from no trustees, but Desiree said that she may be a few minutes late because her flight was delayed and she will be landing a bit later than expected. So I hope she can join in a few minutes. The agenda bus, you have all seen the agenda. Any comments on the agenda? Okay, hearing none. Any conflict of interest to declare considering this agenda? Okay, I assume Desiree will be conflicted on the PIR discussion that we will have in the executive session. So when she joins, we will ask about that. Perfect. And a question for John and Alice, because I didn't quite understand, the status of the conflict of interest from the email exchange. So what is the situation regarding that?
Oh, okay. I must apologize. It's my fault. I actually haven't submitted an updated conflict of interest because I was waiting to get cleared completely off any.Africa, which has been done, but not, they still haven't cleared, on the websites and all of that. Okay.
So that means that you are not conflicted anymore on the PIR discussion?
No, not conflicted on anything. Yeah. Anymore.
Okay, excellent. Yeah. Thanks for the clarification, Alice. Perfect. Okay, so then we can move on to the first point on the agenda, which is a consent agenda. As you guys know, the consent agenda is basically a set of resolutions that they were non-controversial, so we can approve them all in one shot to gain some time. So as you can see, the consent agenda this time, it basically consists of approving the minutes of the previous Board of Trustees meeting and the adoption of the revised procedure for the conduct of meetings. The only change in the conduct of meeting is that we have chosen the terminology to call the different sessions, like open forum, session open for public. I don't remember the exact terms, but anyway, and the fact that we are recording this session. So this is what we are changing, and I think we can approve this with raise of hands. But okay, I see Desiree trying to join. That's perfect. But before, somebody moves this motion, this resolution. So Alice moves. Somebody seconds. Harris seconds. Okay. So all of you voting in favor of approving this resolution, please raise your hands. Okay, everybody abstaining, please raise your hands. Okay, and everybody voting against, please raise your hands. Okay, Alice, I didn't see your vote. Okay, you are voting yes. Okay, perfect. So then we approve this unanimously because Alice's camera was too much zoom in, so I didn't see the hand. Sorry about that. Okay, excellent. So the consent agenda is approved. Then the yes?
Just for clarification, did you see Desiree and Olga? I can't see her.
Well, I can see their names. I cannot see the video feed.
Okay. So how can you see their hands?
No, I see Olga. No, Desiree, I cannot see her actually. But since, so the thing is like Desiree is actually joining and leaving, so she's having problems with that. Yeah, but that's a good point, Hans-Peter, thank you. So unanimously of the trustees that they were present, not counting Desiree. Thanks for the point, actually. That's good. Okay, and Glenn is saying that the video is unstable. Okay, good. Perfect. So the second point in the agenda, well, the third point actually, is the e-vote that was passed since the last board meeting, and this is just for noting it. We don't need any resolution. So it's just to enter into record the e-vote that passed.
Gonzalo, can I just ask a question very quickly? It just occurred to me, for Glenn, technically, can he vote at this stage, or
no,
can he only vote after the AGM, right?
Yeah, no, so Glenn is basically joining as an observer.
Okay, that's fine.
I was actually having a conversation with him to clarify that. So to be completely clear, the voting trustee at this point is Gihan. So Gihan can obviously vote and Glenn cannot, just to be completely clear.
That's fine.
When Glenn becomes trustee, is in the AGM.
Okay, that's
Saturday
good.
morning. Yeah.
So I don't know whether you need to make a note of that in terms of for the minutes as to who is attending and all that, because Glenn will be here as an observer. So I think just to be clear, so that
yes, John will capture that in a minute.
Okay, great.
Okay, so John, the e-vote, basically you are driving that. So please go ahead.
Oh, there's nothing to say. We voted. It goes in the minutes. We can go on to the next item.
Yeah. Can you say what we voted on?
Oh, it was. Sorry, it was the
IB slate.
That was a mayor thing.
No, it was the disclosure part.
It was just right. It was that's right. Thank you, Kevin. There it is with the votes.
Yeah. So the payment disclosure policy. Okay, just so that it's clear to everyone. Okay, thank you, John. As I said, no resolution is required. Then moving on to point number 4, which is the recognition of outgoing PIR board member. So the purpose of the resolution is to recognize Art for his service at the PIR board, and I think we can pass this resolution by acclamation. Thank you, Art, for all your hard work. Excellent. Moving on to point number 5, and I see Desiree probably has successfully joined. Desiree, can you hear us?
Yes, I can. There's a bit of background noise. I'll keep myself on mute.
Okay, excellent. Okay, but good to have you there. Excellent.
Yeah, Zoom works.
Okay, good. So basically moving on to point number 5, which is the election committee report, which is to accept it. So Harris, do you want to introduce the report before we accept it?
Sure. Okay, yeah. Yes, the report essentially covers what happened for this year's elections process, and we had, as you can see in the report, the number of participants in the 2 different categories of organization and chapters was the. Okay, let me restart from the very beginning. There are 2 groups that we have from an election process: the organizations and the chapters. So they both have different amounts of seats available for this time around. So for the organization group members, there's only 1 seat, and for the chapters the group, there were 2 seats available, and there was 3 candidates for each of those 2 groups. And as you can see in the report, the persons who got re-elected into the board were Hiroshi and Hans Peter. And Hiroshi is from the organizational group, and Hans Peter is from the chapters group. And we have a new board member that was elected as Glenn. And as per the results this time around, Gihan did not get into that 2 seats that was open for consideration for the chapters. So we have 2 individuals re-elected and 1 new person coming on board. The elections went off fairly smoothly. We did have a little bit of an issue with some of the voting members' emails. Not really a bouncing, but going to individuals who are no longer the designated voting persons for the whether they are a chapter or an organization. But we managed to sort those things out with the help of Kevin and the ISOC IT staff team, which was just very great. And I'm very thankful for the diligence that they put into this process, because we have to be seen to be very, very efficient and straightforward in the elections process, because that's clearly going to be, if there is a glitch, we will have a big problem on our hands. So thankfully nothing happened, and so everything went well. We did one change this year for the elections, which was essentially to introduce a forum using mailing lists, the trusted old-time technology that works extremely well. And we did have, we managed to sign up all of the respective groups of people for the chapters as well as the organizations into different mailing lists so that they can continue with discussions. So it wasn't a very, very active, but nonetheless, I think there was, this time around, no complaints at all in terms of how to access and how to use the system, because this is a fairly straightforward thing. We did have some, very few people actually unsubscribe from the mailing list, but that's that goes, that's perfectly fine. That's okay to have happen, but it wasn't a lot of people, like 3 or 4. That's about it. We did in the end a fairly. If you look at the page, are you sharing this, Kevin? I'm not seeing it. Okay, it doesn't. I don't need that to be shared. You can see all of you can see it for yourself. So, like, if I were to just, oh, okay, you're sharing it. Okay. All right. Can you just scroll down to the second page? Going down to the second page. Okay. So the, okay. All right, perfect. So we had the final results that were announced on April 27th. There was a period for appeals in case there were challenges to the results. There were no appeals that was received, so we were able to confirm the candidates to become the new board, so re-elected to the board, or new members to the board. Next slide, please. Next page. Just scroll down a little bit more. Yeah. So some interesting statistics that you might want to think about and look at as well is looking at the voting records in terms of how many people voted and the percentages and so on. So for the chapters, we have had an increase in number of chapters from 114 in 2016 to 2019. And we also had an increase in terms of percentage of participation, which is kind of nice. The only thing that kind of stands out, which there was an email that Gonzalo sent across a little bit earlier today about the organizational members. There is actually a drop in total number of organizational members from 132 to 111. But the number of participants who voted was the same, 75 in both last year as well as this year. So naturally, the percentage has gone up because we've got a smaller group to compare against.
It's the 68, right?
Yeah, just rounding. It's a rounding. Yeah, I could round it up, but I just left it as it is. But the point here I'm trying to make is that we had a decrease in the number of organizational members, and the question that Gonzalo asked a little bit earlier was, is there a reason why there was a decrease in the organizational members, the number of members from 132 in 2016 to 111 this year? So I don't have an answer for that, and that's something we may want to get some feedback on. Apart from that, I think everything else went fairly smoothly. I got nothing else to add, and I think on behalf of the committee, Walid, myself, and Narelle, as well as Kathy, thank you very much for helping us in making this happen successfully.
Okay, excellent, Haris. Okay, so I can see the mosaic again. Okay, so since the Desiree doesn't have video, voting with raise of hands doesn't work, as Hans-Peter was rightly pointing out before. So now that we have the Desiree on board, we're gonna vote with using a voice vote. So I'm gonna be calling, and you will be able to say yes, abstain, or no, as usual. So somebody would like to make the motion? Olga makes the motion, and Walid seconds it. Okay, excellent. So all of those voting...
Just to be clear, the vote here is to accept the report?
To accept the report, yeah. Yeah, you have the resolution in the agenda, which is just to accept the report. We were discussing with John, actually, what does it exactly mean accepting the report? And we will have that discussion at some point in the future. But at this point, this is basically the ways of working we've been following always. So we will accept the reports. But that's a conversation I want to have just at some point in the future. Okay, thank you. So everybody voting yes to the resolution, please say yes.
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 Okay.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, everybody voting no, please say no. And everybody abstaining, please say aye. Okay, so this gets approved unanimously. Thank you. Moving on to the Governance Committee report. Walid, do you want to briefly introduce the report?
Yes, I'll briefly do so.
Yeah.
Yes, the Governance Committee has been quite busy, as you can see. You may have read the report sent several days ago. Some minor corrections here and there, but overall it stands its ground. And basically, I'm not sure if Kevin can reflect that in the screen, but it's basically referring to the efforts done first in terms of the self-evaluation process, which had accelerated rapidly from the beginning of this year. It starts, of course, with indicating that the survey has been distributed, has been filled out, and I'd like to thank everyone for participating. And this is basically the first step in the evaluation process, because it still requires some assessment of the results and looking into what could be done further. And then we also have the e-voting system, and here I'd like to thank Hans-Peter for taking all the effort to identify a reasonably good system. Hopefully it will work out, because it's important to have our internal voting system rather feasible and good for everyone, so that we can move on with this. If not, then we might consider other options. So it will be an interesting experiment, I must say, and we're looking forward to seeing it in Nairobi. And we also looked into how the effects of the meetings in the virtual meeting, while we didn't exclusively discuss the virtual meeting per se, but from the fact that there were no issues surrounding it, there were no discussions, there are no concerns. So we felt that having a virtual meeting does not necessarily influence negatively the work of the board. Perhaps one meeting a year is reasonable as far as we can see. And so there might not be a reason for, it might be a good indicator that this could continue. That being said, of course, it's up to the board to decide as we go on, but that's certainly something that we have not objected to. Then if you recall, there were issues concerning the nomination committees, the recommendations of the nomination committee. We sensed that it would be important to give it a fair, dedicated time and effort to ensure that whatever happens within the board as a whole, as a governance committee, we felt that it's important to relay the information from the nominating committee's own results to the next governance committee, because these two committees would have to interact somehow, and realizing what possible implications of the nomination committee's actions could have on the working future of the governance of the board as a whole is important to consider. So we felt that whatever would come will have to be carried out by the next governance committee. So we deferred this, if you recall, in an earlier exchange. And the impact of conflict of interest on the board performance, this was also addressed, and I'd like to thank Ruga for taking the initiative on this. And she had actually raised quite important questions, such as the conflict when it comes to qualifications of candidates, whether that would affect the overall work of the board, and how that plays out if there are certainly very strong conflict of interest. For example, if you have to successively and continuously preclude yourself from discussions, would that have an impact? So since this is part of the work of the governance committees to ensure that we have more or less, a fair amount of time for the board's internal issues, it's important to ensure that the minimum effect of conflict of interest on the operation of the board. That's been started, but still needs to be continued for the next governance. Finally, the changes in the charter. There was a couple of, or maybe a couple of changes that I had suggested, but they didn't have traction. Among them was to include a segment of training or tutoring, perhaps not training, tutoring newcomer trustees. Perhaps there was a suggestion of having to pair them, but it didn't really catch traction. I think it might be because it has a commitment aspect to it, and it would be very difficult to have someone committed to helping another. It might be another trustee. So this also was not taken into account, so the charter did not change. I'd like to take this opportunity to thank Kevin for his tremendous work and working on board source and getting the survey done. It was a marathon. We wanted to ensure that while we have it on time for the AGM, we'd like to not jeopardize or compromise the quality of the work. So we were able to strike a good balance. And hopefully from now on, it's there's a lot of work coming ahead of us. And I've been reminded of that by Sean. And so thanks, Sean, for that. And I'm sure it will be an exciting and yet important time. So that's it for me. Thank you. If there are any other government committee members who would like to chime in, please do so.
Okay, thank you, Walid. So if you can stop sharing, Kevin, please. So I can see everyone. Excellent. Okay, perfect. So we have a resolution again to accept Walid's governance committee report. So somebody makes the motion. Hans-Peter makes the motion. Hiroshi seconds. Yes. Okay, so again, we're going to be voting yes, no, and abstain. So everyone voting yes, please yes.
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 Okay. Everybody voting no, please say no. Finally, everyone voting abstain, please say aye. Okay, so again, unanimously, the resolution passes. Moving on to the 7th point in the agenda is the independent auditors report, and that's going to be introduced by John.
Yeah, the audit report is quite long, but it's similar to last year. And I'll simply say the auditors went through all of ISOC's and PIR's books. When they talked to us, they said they were happy with what they saw. They believed that they believe that our financial statements are accurate, and that is essentially what the audit report says. If you have questions about it, you can ask me or ask Sandy. Although if there are detailed questions, it might be better to do it later.
Yeah. Thank you, John. Any question at this point? Okay, seeing none, again, the same, procedure, yes, abstain, yes, no, and abstain. So, but first, who makes the motion?
I will.
Okay, John makes the motion, and somebody seconds?
Olga?
Olga seconds. Thank you, Olga. Okay, so everyone voting yes, please say yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Everyone voting no, please say no.
No. No.
Okay, Olga.
Sorry. It's a mistake.
So to be clear, you vote yes, Olga,
No,
right?
Sorry, my apologies. Yes, I vote yes. I didn't think about it. Sorry.
Thank you. I know my power of persuasion is so strong.
Fantastic.
Okay, so no votes, and whoever abstained, please say aye. Okay, so unanimously, we passed the resolution. Thank you for that. Okay, moving on to the next point on the agenda, it's point number 8, which is the audit committee report. And again, John, the floor is yours.
Okay, the audit committee fortunately has a fairly simple charter. We accepted the Form 990, which is what ISOC files instead of a tax return, which you can read on their website if you're having trouble falling asleep. We did the discussion with the auditors, which I just discussed before, and the last thing we do is that we keep track of the conflict of interest reports, and as discussed earlier, we have all except for Alice's, which we expect shortly. Oh, and one final thing is from last year, we started doing a risk analysis plan for ISOC. We didn't make any progress on it this year, but I've talked to Sandy and she's found some outside resources to work on it. So I expect that we will get that done in the coming year.
Okay, thank you, John. Any questions for John? Okay, then the same procedure again. Who makes a motion?
I will.
Okay, so John makes a motion. Harris seconds it. Thank you. Okay, so everyone voting yes, please say yes.
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 Okay, thank you. Now everyone voting no, please say no. Okay, I see no votes, and everybody abstaining, please say aye. Okay, again, this gets approved unanimously. Thank you. Okay, great. This was the audit report, and now moving on to point number 9 on the agenda, which is basically it comes together with, they are the next 3 points if you have the agenda in front of you, which is points 9th, 10th, and 11th. And let me introduce the topics. So basically, some time ago, we received 2 recommendations from the chapter's advisory group. And we have been basically, working on a response, and we have divided the response in 3 parts. To be clear, there were 2 recommendations. The reason why we divided the response in 2 parts is like the part that basically had to do with the elections. We didn't ask actually staff to give us a recommendation because it was basically out of their scope. So the board itself had basically not prepared a full resolution, while for the other 2, we asked actually staff for recommendations, and that's basically what we are approving here. So, okay, Kevin is saying that Raul is joining us. Okay, excellent. Yeah, I mean, that's okay if somebody has any questions, but everybody has, of course, read it before, so I assume now everybody is on the same page with this. So we will start. Yes, we will start with 3 resolutions, as I said. So the first one is the Chapter Advisory Council proposal on selecting chapter participants for ISOC delegations. Okay. So, well, I don't think, Kevin, we need to share that because everybody has, well, yeah, I mean, yeah, just go ahead and share it so that we are on the same page. Yes. Okay, so point number 9, that's the resolution we are passing. And everybody that is not speaking, please mute because the line is full of noise otherwise. Okay, so there you can read the resolution, which, it was distributed well in advance, so you have, all read it. So who makes the motion? And now I don't see the video feed, so if you can actually, okay, Olga, I can see Olga basically making the motion. Who seconds it? Okay, Harry seconds it. Okay, so for the resolution, again, we're gonna do a voice vote, voting yes, no, and abstain. So everyone voting yes, please say yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Okay, everybody voting no, please say no. And everybody abstaining, please say aye. Okay, so the resolution passes unanimously. Resolution number 10, again, the second part of the answer to the request. Who makes the motion? Hans-Peter makes the motion. Somebody seconds it. Alice seconds it. Okay, so again, the same procedure. Yes, no, and abstain. So everybody voting yes, please say yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
People voting no, please say no. Okay, and those of you abstaining, please say aye. Okay, so the resolution passes unanimously. Thank you. Moving on to point number 11, the third resolution regarding the chapter's recommendations. So again, the same procedure. Who makes the motion? Hiroshi, are you making the motion? Yes, okay, Hiroshi makes the motion. Who seconds it?
Desiree.
Desiree seconds it. Excellent, thank you, Desiree. And again, those of you voting yes, please say yes.
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 Okay.
Yes.
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 Okay, thank you. Those of you voting no, please say no. And those of you voting, abstaining, please say aye. Okay, this resolution passes unanimously as well. Thank you. Okay, so moving on to point number 12 on the agenda, which is the actionable items from the 2016-17 Board of Trustees. And Kathy basically will be introducing this. Kathy.
Thank you. Just want to bring up should we share it, Kevin? Traditionally, and that means since I've been here, so I don't know if that's traditionally, we have tried to summarize those actions that the board has taken as a board prior to the AGM, so that all of the trustees can recommend, if they will, to the next board an ongoing continuity plan, if you will, of decided matters this year. So we've focused primarily on those issues that are where there's ongoing funding, but there's also issues listed here where obviously continuity is required in order to finish out our commitments. So first, of course, we would continue support for the 2017 action plan that was adopted by the board last November and goes through to this November. Continue the board approved initiatives in the area of the technology improvements, position and branding, website redesign and curation, and beyond the nets. Again, this is continuing funding that was approved in the last board approval in November. And then finally, those projects which are underway, which are new, the Online Trust Alliance was a new project that we adopted this year, and we're asking for this board to recommend its continuation. The Futures, Internet Futures Report, which we are in the middle of, and you have been briefed on before, but we will give you a full briefing during the AGM, is continuing and very vital to our discussions on the future of the internet and also the future of ISOC itself. The celebration of the 25th anniversary, which is underway with all kinds of various events, as you know, and will culminate in September. And then the continuation of the deliberations on the future of ISOC, which I recommend to you that you recommend to the next board, which, by the way, is only a slight change this year. There have been years where up to 4 members have changed, which is why we undertook this, this kind of process. Those are the listed items, and we recommend to you that you recommend to the next board that these be carried forward.
Okay. Thank you, Kathy. Any questions for Kathy? Okay, good. So the idea is to approve basically the resolution, which is that we convey this to the next board.
I think
so,
Hans-Peter was raising his hand.
Oh, I didn't see you, Hans-Peter. So Hans-Peter, please go ahead.
Sorry, nothing really serious. I was wondering why Diamond Security or the whole project wasn't mentioned.
I think only because it wasn't. It can absolutely be listed. There isn't, obviously there was some money already appropriated to that, but that's been appropriated, that's gone. Any new appropriation would be done by the new board, and my understanding was there would be another decision made.
Yeah, I don't think we're kind of finally committed to that, so I would not really be comfortable putting it in this document.
Okay.
That would not, just to make it clear, my understanding is that the initial appropriation has been appropriated and that's all fine. Okay.
Okay. I mean, it's interesting also to note that this is obviously not a comprehensive list. So, I mean, there's action items that...
I would say that that is right. And something that's not there doesn't mean that I wouldn't hope that the board is going to continue.
Exactly.
So, there's always a problem that something left out might be seen as intentional when it's not really.
Maybe in the future we can have, you know, one line at the beginning explaining that, and so that nobody thinks that that's the only things we are basically conveying to the next board. But I mean, that's a small detail for the future. Okay, any other questions? Okay, great. So let's discuss the resolution. Who makes the motion? Sean makes the motion. Who seconds it? Walid seconds it. Okay, excellent. So again, the same procedure. Those of you voting yes, please say yes.
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 Thank
Yes.
you. Okay, those of you voting no, please say no. And those of you abstaining, please say aye. Okay, so the resolution passes unanimously. Thank you all. Moving on to point number 13 on the agenda, which is the President and CEO reports, and that's also for Kathy to drive this. So, Kathy, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much. I will not review the first quarter again, as you have had a full report on the first quarter. In the actual detailed report is in the wiki. For those of you who have not taken a look, I would ask you to do so. The first quarter represents a great deal of work on the part of the staff. I would hope and think that you'd be quite pleased with it. The progress in the first quarter was very good on the plan, and there was lots going on in the regions and at the global level as well. I thought I would direct your attention as to the second quarter to the Mace Snapshot. The snapshot that we have been trying to give you as a matter of a monthly report is the way to keep you abreast with things that are happening in the world in which our people are greatly involved. So in that report, you see an array of activities that happen across the regions that demonstrate the kind of passion and activity that's going on amongst our staff in many of our chapters. I won't, again, just read you the report, but I would resend it to you in the event that you haven't taken a look, and you see activities in all of in the Mideast, in Africa, in the LAC area, etc. So James has just put that in the chat, and again, I heartily recommend this to you. It also, I like that report because it has a spirit to it. It's not just a spreadsheet. It has the spirit of the staff there that I think you can feel when you read it. In addition to all of that activity, we had two major events that we were able to accomplish. One was this Chatham House event, part of our 25th anniversary series. Desiree and Hans-Peter were there. It was, I think, to all present, I think two things. First, it was a breakthrough of sorts for ISOC partnering with Chatham House in a way that was a very high visibility opportunity. We invited people from around the world and had a very interesting and important, I think, combination of people who were looking together at what is the human impact of the internet. This is the topic of the year, and it seems to be coming up in all kinds of ways, both from a business model kind of approach, but also a great security question that's really been pounding away across the world. And then this issue of what are the values of the internet itself, and are they now being subsumed by national issues or regional cultural issues, and is there still a clash, etc. There's quite I think, a broad perspective on the first open panel at Chatham House, and again, I would recommend anyone to watch that discussion. And you saw very different points of view from around the world. For the developing world, let me just say this: the internet is still an essential. And the fear that you're feeling from other places in the world is not necessarily translated there. There's still a big optimism for what the opportunities are. And there's a clash. There's a digital divide clash that has a different nature than it did 15 years ago, and one that I think is quite vital to ISOC itself to think about. There was a closed afternoon session under Chatham House rules, which was fabulous. A good, 25 to 30 people, of which all recommended and put their hands up, please keep put us on your list. We want to keep this conversation going. So from our point of view, a great success in terms of some stakeholder conversation that needs to be had and which can continue. At the same time, we were, the very same time, a group of us were doing that work. Another group was in Africa doing the African Regional Internet Dialogues. And I believe Alice was there. Alice, right? And again, we had a terrific regional conversation about what the needs are in Africa. Now, this is the third of these we've had in our region, so this is an ongoing conversation that Raul has really pushed hard to have, so that ministers and stakeholders in the technical community can talk together about the emerging issues. It was well attended. There were 3 reports that went out. There was a lot of press around this. I think we're finally getting our sea legs under us about how to do the regional press. By the way, James, who's joined us, has now employed regional press kind of help in each area. So we have some agencies who are on the ground now helping us get the word out. And this has been very effective to have a much broader presence. We go on with, after those 2 events, to the African Internet Summit, which we are all attending. Also a big effort by our team to be part of that summit. I think Glenn is even speaking at it, and some others will be speaking at the summit. Raul will play a very big part in giving the keynote, etc. After that, I will go to China, to Shanghai for the GSMA meeting. My first visit to China, which will be watched very closely by the Chinese. I'm purposely going to a business meeting, but I suspect I will meet various officials on the side of that meeting, and will be on a panel where we will be discussing kind of the global nature of the internet and our desire to ensure that it's a cross-border network of networks. This is a sensitive speech and one that I understand can be useful in terms of our engagement there, and so we're working very hard at it. After the AIS, I also speak in Brussels at a very big EU meeting, at which the same topic is on the table. How is the internet affecting human beings and human beings affecting the internet? The Europeans are quite nervous, as you can imagine. They're very unnerved about terrorism, and one more this week. It's a very tense time. It's a very, very high level panel that I'm speaking on with leaders of the European Union. Bill Gates is to appear. The head of Huawei is to be on that panel. So we have been given a golden spot here to discuss what I hope will be a theme of hope, not fear, and what I guess Tom Friedman calls some cautious optimism about where the internet goes and where technology goes in this fast accelerating time. Our message has to be that we can't give in to the fear. So it's, again, a sensitive kind of address. Sally, at the same time, will be at Eurodig. My point here is it's a very, very, very busy second quarter. So after a first quarter, we have an enormously busy second quarter. The big news for us beyond our usual out there talking, speaking, persuading is that we are, and James is on, we are readying and will show you in Africa a branding campaign which we intend to launch the first week of June, probably around the AIS and certainly around these big meetings in Europe, about who the Internet Society is, why we're out there standing for the Internet, protecting the Internet, and seeking for the Internet to evolve and grow. And you're going to see that message come out as an initial message, trying to define the Internet Society by the people who support it, who build it, who protect it. We are working with an ad agency. I've seen an initial, well, we've gone through 2 or 3 iterations, but yesterday signed off on what I think is a very powerful opening salvo on our part. We're trying to figure out where the distribution of those ads will be. And by the time we get to Nairobi, I'll be able to show you a full plan. Okay, that's very quick and I'm sure not very fulsome description of a lot that's been happening inside ISOC.
Okay, so you have a second point on the agenda, which was an update on IASA 2.0. Do you
Yes.
want?
Well, before I go to that, any questions or concerns?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, because we don't pass a resolution here. The purpose is FYI. So Olga, please.
Thank you, Kathy, for the report. I would like to thank also Raul and Raquel, who were present in the South School of Internet Governance in Rio de Janeiro that we organized the local Argentina chapter with the Fundación Getulio Vargas, which is a very important think tank of Latin America. We had 200 fellows and 105 experts in a full week of activities, and Raul was at the opening session, and Raquel did a very interesting presentation at the end of the program about the future of the internet. So I wanted to thank that. It's not included in Snapshot, but I wanted really to thank the contribution of ISOC. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Let me add to that, there's been a number, as you know, of kind of crises around the world. And in Venezuela, as you know, Olga, and others, there's much trouble. It's not only there, but in various places. Our chapters are very hard at work, by the way, in Venezuela, in Africa, around some of the troubled states there, in the Middle East. And I want to raise this with you because we deal with this weekly at this point, and I think this is going to increase. And we've tried to develop some kind of protocols to make sure we are in touch with our chapters before we go off with headlines blazing. In many places, our people are activists and could be affected by some government actions that they have to work around, work through, etc. Perhaps when we're together, we can have a longer conversation about this, but I think it's an important note to make to all of you. There was also this WannaCry crisis allowed us to put some good information out and to speak, I think, as ISOC to a number of news organizations that cared about what we had to say. We're trying to work harder at being available in those kinds of moments. We have a lot of material. We actually do have a lot to say, and we're working hard to be part of that conversation. So thank you, Olga, for reminding me that. By the way, there was no way I covered everything that's just happened. Yeah, so thank you.
Thank you, Kathy. Thank you, Olga. Any further questions? Okay, I don't see anyone wanting to ask a question. So please, Kathy, could you please go ahead with the IASA?
Just a moment on the IASA. The IETF has undertaken its own kind of self-evaluation on the way it administers itself through the IAOC and various processes and procedures it uses. I raise it here because this board should be acquainted with that. I know that Alyssa will give a full report in June, and I think this is going to be, well, whatever the IETF thinks would be good for itself will involve a conversation with the ISOC board as to how that administration ought to go forward. And I recommend highly that this board stay up to date, at least on the conversation. Gonzalo, Sean, others, I know, Richard, Hans-Peter, everybody, there's a lot of people who are involved in that conversation as IETF participants. But as board members, you also need to have some understanding and some consensus has to build around what our part will be going forward. So that's all. Gonzalo, I just wanted to put it on the map at this point.
Absolutely. I mean, this has to be one of our priorities for next year to clarify all this, and this is an important effort. And I also agree that sometimes it's let's say, useful to clarify which hat you are wearing in the conversations, because it may be confusing for some of us that, maybe wearing different hats at different points. Okay, excellent. Any questions on the IASA 2.0? So Walid was sending a link to BCP 101. Thanks, Walid. Any questions? Yeah, John.
I've been in frequent touch with Alyssa about this, and I mean, it's going to involve some negotiation. The chances are fairly good that the IETF will want to change the way it's organized, which will require ISOC to make corresponding changes, which we would have to agree to. I don't necessarily see it as contentious, but but the IETF can turn anything into an argument. So I expect a certain amount of excitement over the next year.
Yeah, that's a fair assessment, I would say. Any?
If I could make a comment, Desiree. Yeah,
Desiree, please go ahead. Yes, yeah, absolutely.
Yes, I think that's my kind of perception. There's not going to be any really conflicts going forward, but it's important for this to happen next year, especially in the view of the IETF endowment. I would like us to pick up that conversation, not now, but at some point, how that fits in the whole IASA 2.0 and where our efforts are and what we as the board think about moving away from the topic for now or seeing how to incorporate it and where does it fit.
Yeah.
That's my comment.
So Gonzalo, since Desiree raised it, and I saw this also raised on the board list, just for information only, we are in pause on the endowment. There does not seem to be a consensus at the IETF, nor frankly on our board, do I believe, as to where and how that should progress. So that is absolutely a point we have to come back to, but I want to be clear that we have intentionally stopped work on this. Okay.
Yeah. Thank you, Kathy. Thanks, Desiree. Any further questions on this or comments? Okay, perfect. So thank you for the report, Kathy. Moving to point number 14 on the agenda, which is the website redesign. So as usual, since when we make decisions that they involve money, we will basically vote the resolution, one by one. So be ready for that. But first, basically we ask Kathy and the team for detailed basic information on a breakdown on the cost for the web redesign, and they kindly provided the board with that. So I assume that everybody has read it. So at this point, any questions to Kathy?
James is also on the line in the event anyone has questions. I think he and Dan have talked to many of you, but if there's further questions, we're happy to take them.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I know some trustees, including me, we have been talking to Dan to get a better understanding of where we were. I see some people nodding there. So that's great. So any questions for either Kathy, James, or both of them? Okay, so people think we are ready to make a decision? Okay, I see nods. So then we will be moving to the resolution. So somebody makes the move. Hans-Peter makes the move. Who seconds it? Sean seconds it. Okay, thank you. So as I said, we're gonna do a roll call type of thing, and I would need a list of trustees. So give me 1 second because
Gonzalo, I want to make clear that this is money we are asking for out of that reserve fund. Okay, so it is additional money to the yearly budget, but it is continuing funding from a project that has been ongoing.
Okay, perfect. I think everybody is clear on that. Any questions regarding where these funds are basically coming from? Okay, good. So I'm gonna follow, I will post it on the chat room, this order to basically the vote. So we start with Walid. Everyone can vote yes, no, or abstain. So Walid?
Yes.
Yeah. And by the way, John, please, capture the votes. So Walid voted. Okay. So Walid voted yes. Richard?
Yes.
Gonzalo, that's me. I vote yes. Olga?
Yes.
Gihan?
Yes.
Hans-Peter?
Yes.
Hiroshi?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
Desiree?
Yes.
Alice?
Yes.
Harish?
Yes.
Okay, thank you, Harish. And Sean?
Yes.
Okay, thank you all. Then the resolution passes unanimously. And thank you, Kathy and James and the team for all the detailed information that you provided us with. That's important. But as I said, usually when we make money decisions, especially if they are non-trivial amounts of money, we want to take them seriously and have a bit more detailed information than for other decisions we may be making.
Gonzalo, may I thank everyone, please? You've all taken a lot of time with this, and we believe this project is central to our going forward as the internet company we hope we're going to be. I saw Sean's note earlier this week, and I felt very heartened that we had good support from you all, so thank you very much.
Okay, excellent. Thank you, Kathy. Okay, so we are moving to point 15 on the agenda, which is AOB, so any other business before we move into executive session. So do we have any other business at this point?
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, well,
I mean, I'd like to point out that I was the regional ISOC workshop for the Middle East, and it was really heartening to see the momentum of the groups there and the chapters. It's been a very short period since Salam took over, but she's proven to be quite, you know, the gal for the job, and she has been rejuvenating the Middle East in such positive ways. We just need to build on this momentum, and with Raul's leadership in this regard, we can perhaps try to sync with other groups that are also building momentum in the region, including ICANN is now following suit. They're beginning to work very hard in improving the DNS market. I'm a chair of a group there in the Middle East. So it's coming out quite nicely. So I thought I'd mention this and convey my great gratitude to the team.
Thank you, Walid.
Thank you, Walid. Any other business?
Let me add that these kinds of activities are available all the time for you all to attend. We have what we call our opportunity calendar, a calendar of events. I can get that up on the wiki. Please, especially as you're thinking about the future of this organization, I would love for you to get there and see what's going on as you're thinking about this. So I invite you to come anytime, anywhere you can do it.
Thank you, Kathy. Okay, anyone else? Any other business? Okay, good. So thank you then. We're gonna move to a closed executive session, and then we will basically actually go public again to basically accept the Finance Committee report and the allocation, to discuss the allocation of the 2016 budget surplus. So now we will move into executive session, and we will be back in roughly half an hour, I guess. Thank you.
Okay, I'll stop the recording, and I will lock the meeting room.
Okay, excellent. Thank you, Kevin. Or Macedonia, or how do you say that in English?
Macedonia, close enough.
Okay.
Okay, we're recording again.
Okay, thank you, Kevin. Okay, so we are back. We are recording again, and at this point, we are in the resolution to accept the report from the Finance Committee. So somebody makes the motion?
I would like to make the motion.
Okay, Sean, and Olga seconds that. Okay, excellent. So again, we're gonna do a voice call. So you can say yes, no, or abstain. So everyone voting in favor, please say yes.
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 Okay. Anyone voting against it, please say no. And anyone abstaining, please say aye. Okay, so the resolution passes and we accept the Finance Committee report unanimously. And then moving on to the last point on the agenda, which is the allocation of the 2016 budget surplus. So, Sean.
Yeah, so as I mentioned earlier, we have a bit of a surplus, and what the staff recommended and the finance committee discussed and basically agreed with little discussion was that we should basically move the funds to the beyond the net bucket, basically. So this is a resolution to immortalize that. So I hope I don't need to read. Do I need to read the resolution?
No, you don't.
One note, I think the resolution as printed in the agenda at least is missing a 0. It's
Yes.
420,
I fixed it in the minutes.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Richard.
So to be clear, the figure is 400.
Altogether, I mean, is it 4,200?
Gihan, I couldn't understand you.
No, I'm just wondering, what's the correct amount? Is it 4,200, 4,200?
$420,000.
$420,000. Oh, okay,
Yes.
right, okay. So it's not missing a 0. There's also comma.
Yeah.
Okay, there's comma and 2 zeros. Okay, right. Okay, that's done.
Well, I mean, the comma, they use it in the US as we would use a point. So it's a bit
Right.
confusing.
I have one question about this motion. I know that the applications aren't all in yet, but do we reasonably believe that if we allocate this money that there will be good quality applications to spend it all?
Oh, yes.
I mean,
I have a report for this year almost ready to go. So we'll get that to you. So you see there's some really good competition going on for the money. And I think as we go forward and thinking about one of our roles as almost like a grantor ourselves, that this will be a crucial part of what we do with the community.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you. Any further questions? Okay, so somebody makes the motion.
I would like to make the motion, please.
Okay, thank you, Sean. And Gihan seconds it. Okay, perfect. So again, this is a money thing, so we will do a roll call, the same order as before. So you can vote as usual, yes, abstain, or no. So Walid?
Yes.
Richard?
Yes.
Gonzalo? I vote yes. Olga?
Yes.
Gihan?
Yes.
Hans-Peter?
Yes.
Hiroshi?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
Desiree is not here. Alice?
Yes.
Harish?
Yes.
And Sean?
Yes.
Okay, so the resolution passes unanimously, modulo Desiree that was not here because he couldn't join the call back. Okay, perfect. Thank you. And then we did any other business before already, so that we only have the closure of the meeting. So I move to adjourn the meeting. Somebody seconds?
We don't need a motion. We can just adjourn.
Well, okay, so the meeting is adjourned.
They're stuck forever, right?
No, I mean, the thing is, I was joking at some point that, we didn't have a motion to close. So I was joking that the meeting was still open, but no, that's okay. Okay, perfect. So thank you very much. The meeting is adjourned, and, we'll have our next meeting in Kenya. So see you all there.